It seems to be working pretty well for those Ukrainians over there. They're doing well, right, Woody? Aren't they doing well? They're not losing, are they?
They haven't been losing for a long time, right?
Seems like they've been losing for a long time.
It seemed that way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm Googling Starlink and I can't finish my thought.
No, keep looking.
Yeah, last I looked, they had just taken back some inconsequential piece of land that they recently lost. It's basically a stalemate. And
I think they're losing.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't call it winning, but I'm going to make up a number. I bet Russia picked up like 100 square kilometers this year. So is Ukraine winning? Clearly not. They have less land than before. Is Russia winning? Well, like by a little.
Yes, because they have more land than before.
Okay, so Russia's winning, and at this rate, they'll have won the whole thing in 7,000 years.
Yeah, maybe it looks like it's all but one for Russia. Like, what's Ukraine gonna like? They can't.
Here's how I think it's going to go.
Dramatically.
Regardless of who wins, it will be won this way. They'll just press and press and press, and then something will snap, and they will gain tons and tons of land.
Yeah, I mean, how many more people does Ukraine have? They're like throwing 50-year-olds.
I don't know. I used to watch it.
I think they got plenty of people.
I watched this, like I followed this thing for hours a day, long after everyone stopped. But now I've sort of stopped too. I don't.
So the most recent strike that the Ukrainians did, and it's so funny because after the terrorist attack, and Vladimir Putin's like, "Oh, all of our defenses are on high alert. We're ready for anything from anyone from anywhere." And then the Ukrainians take a Cessna and load it up with explosives instead of passengers and luggage, and put a remote control inside and pilot the Cessna like 600 miles into Russia and blow up a drone factory.
Well, who could stop a Cessna, Kyle? Be reasonable.
Who could stop a Cessna? They move it like 250 miles per hour.
Sometimes double digits in speed.
Yeah, that's why you use it, because no one looks at that and assumes anything sinister. Yeah. It's like that's a retarded thing to fly armor like bombs with. Surely that's just some goofball up there.
Yeah, that's what air traffic control is like. Hey, Flight 327, who are you and why are you flying out of that war zone to our west?
No, don't worry about it.
Don't worry. It's cool.
All right, you must promise
cool.
me.
He says he's professional Russian.
Like,
no, under Operation Cross My Heart, Hope to Die, I will allow him deeper into nation.
One thing I'll say, you know how like sometimes you'll have two guys fighting in the street, and like one of them's got an older brother who's watching, and you know that this guy can't win because if he ever starts to win, only one person's allowed to win. I think to some extent that's true with Ukraine. The powers of Europe won't let Kiev fall. Like that, I'll bet anything you want on. Kiev will not fall. If Russia comes close to taking Kiev, you're going to see some other troops showing up, some other technology showing up, or red lines. You're going to see airstrikes or something. NATO will be drawn in before Kiev falls. They're not going to make the new front line Poland. They're not going to do it.
Did you see whoever the fuck was like, "Oh, we're putting Ukraine in NATO now. Like we're going to do it."
Who? I would like to know who that was. Was somebody important or like a reporter making a guess?
U.S. Secretary of State Blinken says Ukraine will be a NATO member. So that's the horrid news.
That's horrid news if you don't like killing Russians.
Well, horrid news if you don't like World War III.
Well, hang on. Is there a period at the end of that sentence? Or does he say like one day in the future they will be? Because it's a pretty different statement, which I think is what he was probably saying. He's certainly not going to try to introduce Ukraine to NATO. But it was probably a question asked of him that is now being phrased this way so it'll get more clicks, right? That's why. They're like, well, can you imagine a future where someday Ukraine will be into NATO? Yes, I think someday Ukraine will be part of NATO. He's talking about Star Trek days in the future, I bet.
I do have the statement. Ukraine will become a member of NATO, period. Our purpose at the summit is to help build a bridge to that membership. So I feel like it's a little of both of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, they can't become a part while they're in the middle of this war.
That is like a NATO thing. I don't think you can join while you're at war.
Rules can be broken, and
For
they
sure.
can make little workarounds if
Turkey's
they
not-
want. Hopefully they do
No.
not, because then what is it like Article
Turkey's
5
not gonna
or something?
Turkey's not gonna sign off on that. They almost lost Turkey because of that those Russian psyops going on in Sweden, burning Qurans.
I don't know what's going on in Turkey, and I don't want to. It's none of my
Well,
business.
Not
What are they
much.
doing over there? They have good street food.
Good drones. They build
Drones?
really cheap
Street
attack drones.
Who do they give them to?
The Ukrainians.
I wasn't even sure, but okay. Turkey's still-
I mean, I
Like-
bet they probably sell some to the Russians too, but like they definitely sell them to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians.
The Ukrainians.
They're so smart there.
Ukrainians, the smartest people in all of Europe.
Yeah, France made some kind of big commitment to support Ukraine and bolster their own defense budget, but it turns out half of that is their own nukes. So that's not like defensive help for Ukraine.
Macron of France is talking reckless. He's talking out of
Yes.
pocket.
Mhm.
Every
do?
time I see him talk, and he's talking about if we need to send French troops, then we'll send French troops. I'm not drawing any red lines. We're ready to do this. We're ready to do that. He's ready to put on one of them Napoleon hats and ride into Russia.
Dude, I hope he
apparently.
does. I hope he's the first to go. I hope
Yeah.
he's on the front lines tomorrow, putting
he
his
goes-
money where his mouth is, fighting hard.
If he goes, Poland will likely join because Poland's also ramping up, and they're
Yeah.
pretty much the new front line
Man,
against Russian
Poland's
expansion.
just so long of being bullied from all sides. just so long of just like, can we just please let us do our thing? Like, let us do whatever Poles do. We don't even know what we do anymore. That's how
if
long
they
it's
could
been.
read, they'd be very offended.
That I never understood where that stereotype comes from. The like Polish people
being stupid.
being
I never
stupid.
questioned it as
Never
a
got
kid.
it.
I just retold the jokes.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, that's good. And I don't know any Poles, and so I choose to believe that it's
Yeah,
I knew Tina's like,
honestly,